You're listening to the most captivating podcast in iTunes. That's right, the Elite Man Podcast, where we turn average men into elite men every day. We interview the very best experts from the lifestyle, health, fitness, social, and even entrepreneurial worlds. And with their help, we give you some of the best advice on the planet. Subscribe now if you haven't already and enjoy the show. And oh yeah, if you really enjoy it, leave us a review. On today's episode number 296, entitled, How to Heal Your Emotional Issues and Trauma with Ayahuasca, I chat with Michael Thornhill. Michael Thornhill is the co-founder and curandero with Casa Galactica Channeling and Plant Spirit Healing in Peru. In today's episode, Michael talks about how he uses plant medicines, mainly ayahuasca, to heal people of their emotional issues and traumas. He discusses how he conducts ayahuasca ceremonies, what it's like taking ayahuasca, how it works, and what the whole experience is like when you're using it. Michael discusses everything you need to know about ayahuasca and the healing powers it contains in this fascinating chat. If you're wondering what it's like using plant medicines to heal, check this episode out now. You are going to love it. The best self-help book ever written has now become the best self-help audiobook ever recorded. Go to elitemindbook.com to pick yourself up Elite Mind, the audiobook, today on Audible. It's also available on iTunes and all the other platforms that have audiobooks where you listen to them on. It's on there as well. Pick yourself up Elite Mind. I'm telling you, this book, an audiobook, if you haven't gotten the paperback or Kindle yet, will change your life. All right, guys, we're live. It's Justin Stenstrom from Elite Man Magazine, and my guest today is Michael Thornhill, the founder of CasaGalactica.com. Michael, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Hey, Justin. Thanks so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, as I mentioned a moment ago to you, man, you're right now in Peru, which I actually have family from Peru in South America. Not too many people know about it, but it is one of the places in all of the world that's kind of the leader in ayahuasca and sort of the plant medicine and a lot of the spiritual healing. You're not actually originally from there, but you've been living there for the past 4 years. Can you just talk for a moment about how you got into living in Peru, first of all, and then like the work you're doing and why you're there?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, Peru, just on its own, take ayahuasca, everything out of the equation. Peru is just one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been in the entire world. You've got the jungle, you've got beaches, and you've got the mountains, where I'm actually currently in Pisac, in Cusco at the minute, in the Sacred Valley. For anyone who doesn't know that, think of Machu Picchu, and it's just kind of down the road from there. And as you mentioned, with plant medicine and ayahuasca, we provide in plant spirit healing retreats, ayahuasca healing retreats. And here in Peru, plant medicine is completely 100% legal, and it's actually a heritage that's looked after and it's protected here in Peru. So for us and the work that we do, and for many people who come and visit us here, this is just such a hub that also the plant medicines grow naturally here in the rainforest, and it's our home. We've made it our home, and it's so beautiful. But asked me 5 years ago, did I think I'd be living in Peru? And, I don't think I ever would have thought about coming here. Yeah. But I was working in a business. I was working in headhunting or recruitment. I was really successful. I'd worked in that job for about 7 years or so. And then I started my own company. And I was doing renewable energy recruitment, and I kind of started having a bit of a spiritual awakening where we started giving money to charity. We were like, let's give back, let's work in renewable energy, let's see what we can do. And that was kind of a beginning opening for me. But then I realized that even though that my heart was in the right place, my mind was still scattered. I was addicted to a lot of drugs. I was succumbed to the pressure of the kind of rat race of a lot of the business pressure to succeed. And, I was like, the pressure was good for me in that sense that it made me very successful at what I did. I earned a lot of good money, but I was really unhappy on the inside. And I didn't really know that at the time because I was just drinking, doing drugs, partying, DJing, all that stuff. So I started to have a spiritual awakening after my mother passed. And I started to question life a little bit more about 5 years ago. I was like, is this really the life that I want? And I started to question life and death and really what I was doing with my life. And I'd never really wanted to live past 30 because I was just kind of like, let's just do it. I don't care. Subsequently, it was because of a lot of trauma. Anyway, I decided to drink ayahuasca after a recommendation that someone told me ayahuasca can help with addictions and it can give you a big spiritual awakening. You can connect with a higher power or God. Something that I was just like, yeah, whatever you're saying, but I feel like that it's going to help me with addictions. Long story short, I drank ayahuasca and I had what you might call a spiritual awakening, or a deep recognition that there were fundamental things in my life that were not good for me. Lots of work, pressure, drugs, and being really sad inside and not really being able to talk about it or really knowing the avenues or outlets as a man to be able to speak about those things. And I subsequently went traveling. I went to India, I went to Nepal, and I went and signed up for 10 weeks of an ayahuasca initiation course, which led me to studying with the plant medicines more and more, because after the first ayahuasca ceremonies, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped doing drugs, and it was just like an immediate, wow, okay, something's got to change, and it was a big relief. But there were many more layers to that. So I ended up being in the jungle. I ended up training here in the Shipibo tradition of Curanderismo. The Shipibo tradition is a tribe of people here, indigenous people who are experts within ayahuasca and plant spirit healing. And working with them helped me to uncover deep levels of trauma, sexual abuse, and to be able to heal myself and to understand that there was more to life than the life that I was living. Anyway, I stayed out here training, working in an organization, and then later I met my now wife here. We got married, and then we started Casa Galactica, running our own healing programs, channeling and plant spirit healing programs out here in Peru, where we work offering plant spirit healing retreats, Know Your Hour initiation theaters, which is training in the tradition. And then we also do a lot of online intuitive work and channeling work, which is basically being in contact with spirit and helping people to heal. And yeah, we love it here. I'm very grateful. It's been a wild ride. It's not been easy. Definitely had its challenges along the way. But in a snapshot, that's how I've landed.
Loved it. That's awesome, man. Such a good, cool story. Well, I want to dive. I mean, this episode is going to primarily focus on the ayahuasca and the plant healing stuff. But you mentioned something very interesting at the end, which is the channeling and connecting with spirits. Is that something you picked up from doing the plant work and the medicine, or is that some kind of intuitive gift that you or say your wife had for many years and you just kind of been doing it lately?
Well, for me, it happened as I was healing trauma throughout work with the plant medicines and an interest in learning it. And the thing is that everybody can channel, everybody's intuitive, everybody has access to that information. And it's just something that we've forgotten and that everybody can do. So the idea of someone saying that they're gifted, yeah, people can be more open to it. My wife was certainly more open to it than me, and she'd been doing it for a while before she met me. But that was something that I was just like, yeah, I want to learn this. And then I just took steps to do it and then developed. So yeah, it's something that we can all do. And I actually teach that online as well. But yeah, it's magical.
Yeah. Do you need to take the plant medicines? Do you need to take ayahuasca at some point, or any of these, say, hallucinogenic therapies, medicines, to be able to tap into the channeling side and like remember, like you said, that people forget? Do they need to do the plant medicines to then remember how to do it?
Great question. No, it's not necessary to take any plant medicines or psychedelics or entheogens or anything like that to be able to connect with spirit and speak with spirit. It can be learned completely without any of that. However, ayahuasca and these plant medicines can be a great catalyst for us to have that experience whilst taking a plant medicine, to show that there is a spirit world. Because I remember the first time I drank ayahuasca and there's all these spirits coming around, and I was like, hold on, I thought I was a human and I worked in an office. So this kind of like, there was like, okay, there's this whole other world. So when you experience that with plant medicines, yeah, it can be really eye-opening, and definitely was a catalyst for me in wanting to learn how to do this. But no, you don't need to, but yes, it can help and facilitate that.
Gotcha. That's really cool. I'm very interested in that channeling thing as well. I'll be honest though, I'm kind of like, I've done so many supplements and herbs and medicines and all kinds of things over the years, but I am actually one of the people that's pretty nervous about taking something like ayahuasca, psychedelic. What is it like actually being on it? And are there actual real fears and concerns that you, as someone who's done it many times, still have to think about while you're doing it?
Yeah, great question. So drinking ayahuasca can be, if anyone has taken mushrooms, like magic mushrooms or psilocybin, it can be described as similar to that, but it's not the same. It's different. So when you drink ayahuasca, after about 20 minutes or so, you'll start to feel an effect in the body, and you can start to feel warm or perhaps cold, and you can start to feel yourself going into an altered state. So anyone who perhaps has smoked marijuana, or even if it's just been drinking alcohol, you know that feeling of you going into an altered state. But it's very different to anything that I've just described. And then you can start to have an expanded state which allows you to feel sensations in your body more clearly, feel emotions more clearly, and to get in touch perhaps with past repressed memories. You can also have an experience of feeling oneness, connected to the universe, creator, or God, whatever you might want to call that for whatever your experience is. And then perhaps you may feel auditory communication with spirits. You may have intuition or knowings about things about your life that perhaps weren't exactly as they are, or you can experience past traumas, perhaps take a breakup with a partner, and then just experience and feel that pain and then heal it, because perhaps it was trapped in the body, and it helps us to go back and say, oh, I didn't really fully feel that. And then you can have the more psychedelic experience, perhaps more visions of going into other worlds, of understandings and knowledge from the universe being downloaded, you might say, is a word that I don't really like to use, but that's kind of like a good way to kind of describe it, of information coming into your system. It can be just knowings. It can be an intelligent conversation. You can see things, you can remember things, you can feel things, and you can have this very kind of outside of the body or more expanded than the body experience where you feel, oh my gosh, there's something more than this. The first time that I drank ayahuasca, I had an experience of feeling these other beings and energies working with me, showing me the reason why that I'd incarnated here on earth. And it definitely wasn't to be in recruitment for my whole life. And that there was more to life than the drinking and the drugs that I was doing. And it was, to describe it, it was just like, I didn't know where this information was coming from, but something beyond my mind, I knew that it was true and it all made sense. And I was just like, oh, wow, okay, I feel that with my whole body, it's true. And something cleaned and changed with me. So in that sense, whatever you're coming into the medicine for, you're going to get an experience that is for your highest benefit of healing. It could be physical healing, it could be mental healing, it could be emotional healing, it can be a spiritual awakening. And more often than not, it's a combination of all those things. In terms of a fear before drinking ayahuasca, I would say the biggest fear that came up for me was, okay, I've seen all those things about my life now. The identity which I had identified with so long, that perhaps society had told me, my parents, all these other things that I'd learned, I can see now that identity that I've created and that I'm holding on to so strongly and that means so much to me, I'm going to have to let that go to find a glimpse of that happiness that I'd experienced on the medicine. And that's scary when we've invested so much time in our company, our business, the way we look, the way we behave, the things we do, our friendship groups. So that being a fear state of okay, a change is coming. It's going to be for the highest good of me, but how do I get there? And that's what an integration process is really about. We can talk more about that later, perhaps. But in terms of fears now, the fears I have are perhaps about seeing more trauma that I've not seen, because I've seen so much trauma going through my body, and it's less of a fear now, more than just like, perhaps I could describe it as a way that may be accessible to people, would be like, perhaps you're going to go and play a sport game. You know that when you go out there on the field, it's going to be an enjoyable experience. But you know that you might get hit hard, you know that you might get a couple of bruises along the way. It could be difficult, but the whole experience yourself, it is going to be one of its benefit and the one that you're up